We're just over 24 hours away from the highly anticipated 2025 NFL Draft, and the buzz surrounding the Dallas Cowboys is reaching a fever pitch. With 10 picks in this year's draft and eyes locked on the 12th, 44th, and 76th selections, fans and analysts alike are bracing for what could be a pivotal moment for the franchise. The uncertainty surrounding that 12th overall pick is palpable, especially with all the speculation swirling around Jacksonville, which seems to be at the heart of many recent rumors. One of the hottest theories floating around is that Jacksonville, sitting at number 5, could be working a trade scenario with Chicago. This chatter has only intensified in the last 24 hours and has positioned the Jaguars as a real threat to shake up the draft order. Now, let's be real. If the Cowboys are being honest with themselves, well, Campbell will likely be off the board by the time their pick rolls around. Same goes for Hunter and Carter. They're not going to be available. So that leaves Dallas in a tricky spot. If they stick at 12 and want to make the smartest pick based on who might realistically still be on the board, the names that jump out are Ted Rowe and McMillan. But even then, there's no guarantee McMillan will be there. Jacksonville's potential trade with Chicago complicates things even further, creating a domino effect that could force Dallas to pivot quickly. Meanwhile, there's a good chance the Raiders focus on offensive line help, though nothing is certain with them either. The Jets? They're likely leaning toward an offensive tackle or maybe a tight end, but again, there's no consensus. Carolina looks set on bolstering their defense, and the Saints could go either way, trenches or receiver, though the lean seems to be toward the line. All that uncertainty means Dallas will have to be sharp. A lot of eyes are on that 12th spot, and there's been speculation that the recent Jacksonville noise is more about coaxing the Bears into moving up than anything else, possibly so Jacksonville can drop down and still land DMAC. That scenario is on the table. There are other names in the conversation for the Cowboys, too. Matthew Golden feels like a solid pick, especially if the board falls a certain way. Akabuka, with his ties to Junior Adams, could be an option as well. Same goes for Mike Williams and Shamar Stewart, players Dallas has shown clear interest in. But there's growing sentiment that Banks won't be available, and if that's the case, it may be wise to strike his name off the list altogether. Will Johnson is one name that could realistically still be on the board and might be an attractive option. However, concerns about a knee injury have popped up in the last couple of days. Nothing that was flagged earlier, which raises a red flag. Still, all reports suggest his medicals are stable, and that might be enough for Dallas to feel comfortable pulling the trigger. Another key element in all this, the Cowboys are very open to trading down. That's not just smoke. They've made it clear they'd be happy to move back a few spots if the right deal comes along. And that makes sense. This draft has a vibe to it where once you weed out the injury concerns and positional redundancies, the difference in talent between the 10th and 18th best prospects isn't all that significant. You could be sitting at 12, watching your guy get taken right before your pick, and rather than reaching, you're hoping the phone rings. That's when names like Mel Williams, Josh Simmons, Booker, Golden, and Ayuka start becoming interchangeable in value. In that situation, sliding back makes a ton of sense. If the Cowboys do end up trading down to, say, 18th or even 20th with Denver, the entire outlook shifts. They're probably not taking a guard at 12, and honestly, I don't see them pulling the trigger on Booker or Zell that early either. But if they're sitting at 18 or 20, suddenly the value makes more sense. That opens the door for prospects like Walter Nolan if he's still there. James Pierce is another interesting one. He's been climbing boards and could be a big-time player early in the second round. Jayad Campbell's got medical flags, but Josh Simmons has left a good impression on the team, and that counts for something. It's clear Dallas has options, more than most years, and they're being very strategic about how they approach things. The vibe I'm getting is that they're preparing for multiple contingencies. They've hosted a wide range of prospects, especially focusing on potential first-rounders. They know the board might not fall in their favor, so they're getting familiar with everyone. There's a real scenario here where trading back gets them a better return overall. If they end up at pick 18 or 20, their shortlist probably changes dramatically, and we could see names pop up that no one's expecting. What's interesting is that we've seen a pattern from Dallas in recent drafts where they target players with first-round grades who fall to them in the second. That could be the strategy again this year. especially with pick 44 looming. We also have to talk about the quarterback situation. There's at least one quarterback in this draft from a major program who had a standout 2023 season before dealing with an injury in 2024. He was on pace to be a first-rounder, but medical concerns have caused his stock to dip. Dallas might be eyeing someone like that at 44, banking on the upside and value. This team has done that before, taking advantage of a player's fall due to injuries or other red flags. They might do it again, especially if they feel like they can rehab and develop him behind the scenes. Running back is another position that's wide open. There are two guys that really stand out in this class during pre-draft visits, but only one is expected to be available when Dallas is on the clock. There's also a third back who's dealing with some medical stuff and could slide into the third round. That might actually play into Dallas' hands perfectly. There's a particular back from a Southern program who could be available at either pick 76 or even a little later. He's explosive, dynamic, and fits what the team needs from that position. They may not take a back at 44, but at 76, that feels very much in play. Names like Damon Martinez, R.J. Harvey, Cam Skattebo, Dylan Sampson, and DJ Giddens are intriguing options for that third-round range. If Dallas waits until the fourth, they could still find value in guys like Devin Neal, Jarquez Hunter, Jaden Blue, Jordan James, and Bahard Smith. The beauty of this running back class is the depth. Even if there's a bit of a rush on backs in the second round, solid options will still be on the board in the third and fourth. And the way this front office operates, that's probably right where they want to be. What's fascinating is that this draft has a certain unpredictability to it that we haven't seen in a few years. The Cowboys have flexibility. They can go defense, offense, trade back, or even move up if the right opportunity presents itself. It's not a one-path draft like we've seen before. This is a draft full of layers, and Dallas seems to be playing it like a long game. They're patient, they're calculating, and they've positioned themselves to adapt quickly to how the board shakes out. Whether they stick at 12, move back, or even surprise everyone and go up, it's clear they're keeping all options on the table. Beyond the first round, the real intrigue begins. That's where you start to see teams with strong scouting departments and well-thought-out strategies truly separate themselves. For the Cowboys, this draft class could turn into a gold mine in the middle rounds, especially given the depth across several key positions. At pick 44, depending on how things unfold above them, there's a real shot they could land a player who, under different circumstances, would have been taken in the first round. It's a move they've pulled off before, targeting players with medical concerns or off-field questions that cause their stock to slip. It's a gamble, but one that can pay off massively if the evaluations are accurate and the locker room support structure is strong enough to help the player thrive. There's also the possibility that Dallas looks to stack talent in the trenches during the second and third rounds. Edge rushers and interior defensive linemen with rotational potential are expected to come off the board in waves between picks 35 and 85. Guys like Elijah Roberts stand out as examples of versatile linemen who can kick inside on passing downs and hold the edge against the run. The Cowboys have looked into players with that hybrid skill set, especially those who can move around depending on the scheme. Roberts fits that mold. He's local, productive, and has shown flashes of being able to collapse pockets from different alignments. There's a decent chance he won't make it to the fourth round, but if he's there in the third, that could be the steal of the draft. Another position that continues to draw attention is cornerback. It's a bit of a wild card depending on how the situation with Gilmore develops, but depth in the secondary is something every contending team needs. A nickel corner who can also line up at safety adds flexibility, and Dallas has a history of valuing that kind of versatility. There's a player they've looked at who fits that description. Strong tackler, tested well, and has the kind of aggressive mentality that fits their defensive philosophy. If he's available in the fifth or even sixth round, expect the Cowboys to pounce. And don't be surprised if they double dip at the position depending on how free agency and preseason shake out. By the sixth round, you're typically looking at guys with either limited tape, injury histories, or physical profiles that don't quite match their production. But sometimes that's where you find gems. Defensive tackles who don't flash as pass rushers but dominate against the run. That's where names like Cam Horsley start popping up. He's not going to give you sacks, but that's not what you need from a true nose guard. If he can eat double teams and plug gaps, that's his job, and he does it well. In this Cowboys defense, a player like that is essential. If he's sitting there in round 6, you take him and don't think twice. Then there's the safety room. Right now, the Cowboys have 4 safeties they feel solid about, but they're not planning to overuse guys like Mal Hooker or Donovan Wilson in the preseason, and Juan Thomas or Maris Bell aren't going to be playing every snap either. That makes depth important. A guy like Craig Woodson out of Cal could be a smart addition. Hometown kid, high production, good football IQ. He makes sense as a rotational piece who could also contribute on special teams. That's the kind of late-round pick that ends up becoming a fan favorite if things break right. Linebacker is also in the mix, particularly for special teams value. Someone like Shamar James from Florida is an interesting case. He hasn't quite lived up to his recruiting hype, but he's got tools and athleticism. The right coaching staff could unlock something there. With the Cowboys investing in development at linebacker, a player like James could be worth a flyer in the later rounds. He may not start right away, but he's got enough juice to make an impact on coverage units while learning the ropes on defense. And of course, we can't forget about offensive line depth. That's been a concern going into this draft. The team isn't entirely confident in the current crop of reserve tackles, and someone like Brandon Crenshaw-Dickson could be on their radar in the 3rd or 4th round. He's long, physical, and has the frame to develop into a reliable swing tackle. Whether he goes a bit earlier or later depends on how desperate teams are for offensive line help, but he fits what Dallas typically looks for in a developmental tackle. In the final rounds, the Cowboys might double down at nose guard, especially since they've had some rotation at that spot, and there are question marks around depth. Justin Rogers hasn't had the chance to show much yet, so adding another body for competition makes sense. Zeke Biggers is another name to watch. He's massive, 6 feet 6 inches, over 320 pounds, and he could potentially take some reps as a 5-tech as well. He's the kind of 7th-round flyer that might not make the team out of camp, but if he sticks, he gives you serious size and raw strength to work with. As the draft winds down, the focus shifts to undrafted free agents, where Dallas has quietly done some of its best work in recent years. Players who weren't picked but were brought in on post-draft visits can turn into contributors if developed properly. A couple of quarterbacks like Seth Hunan, Chandler Rogers, and Braden Schrager are fringe prospects that might not hear their name called but could come in and compete in camp. One of them had a private workout with the Cowboys and caught the attention of the quarterback coach. Another is known for his leadership and strong command of the offense, even if his arm talent isn't elite. If the Cowboys are looking to add a 4th quarterback, it's most likely going to happen after the draft, and it wouldn't be shocking if one of these names ends up on the practice squad. Receivers are another position that could see attention late or in free agency. There's one wideout in particular the team seems to like, tested well, long arms, solid route runner. He's not getting a lot of buzz, but Dallas had him in for a workout and liked what they saw. That could turn into something depending on how the board falls. And keep an eye on one final wild card. There's a player who, based on his pro day performance alone, could sneak into the very end of the 7th round. He played against weaker competition, which hurts him, but the physical traits are there. He's a true project, but sometimes that's exactly what these late picks are about: upside and imagination. As it all comes together, this feels like a draft where Dallas has more flexibility than ever. They've done the homework, they've laid the groundwork, and now it's all about execution. Whether they go with the safe pick, the trade-down move, or throw a curveball, the foundation is there to bring in talent that fits both immediate needs and long-term vision. Every year brings surprises, and this year will be no different. The only thing we know for sure, when that 12th pick comes up, the entire NFL world will be watching. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. Micah Parsons has officially announced his departure from the Dallas Cowboys, bringing an end to one of the most electrifying defensive careers in recent franchise history. The 25-year-old linebacker, selected 12th overall in the 2021 NFL Draft, quickly became a cornerstone of Dallas's vaunted defense. Over 4 seasons, Parsons recorded 46 sacks, earned 3 Pro Bowl selections, and was named first-team All-Pro twice. His relentless pursuit of quarterbacks and sideline-to-sideline range made him a matchup nightmare for offenses across the league. In a heartfelt statement released Tuesday morning, Parsons expressed gratitude to the organization and the Cowboys faithful. "Dallas will always be home," he said. "This community embraced me from day one, and I'll never forget the bond we formed on and off the field." Yet, Parsons also made clear that his career is entering a new chapter. "I feel it's time for a fresh challenge, to push myself in a different environment and continue growing as a player and leader." Sources close to the situation indicate that Parsons' decision stemmed from a desire for a long-term commitment and a contract that reflects his elite status. With 2 seasons remaining on his rookie deal, Parsons could have become a free agent in 2026, but neither side reached an extension agreement. The Cowboys reportedly offered a record-setting linebacker contract, but negotiations stalled over guaranteed money and incentives. Now, teams across the league are expected to pursue Parsons aggressively once he officially hits free agency in March 2026. Dallas will face the difficult task of replacing a generational talent. Parsons' versatility, shifting from outside linebacker in 4-3 looks to edge rusher in nickel packages, allowed defensive coordinator Dan Quinn to deploy creative schemes that maximized his speed and instincts. The Cowboys front office has already begun exploring trade options and draft prospects, with rookie second-rounder recruits and veteran pass rushers under consideration. Teammates and coaches have flooded social media with tributes since the news broke. Quarterback Dak Prescott called Parsons the heart and soul of our defense, while owner Jerry Jones praised him as a once-in-a-generation force. Fans on social platforms have mixed reactions. Some lament the end of an era in Big D, while others express excitement at the prospect of major roster moves with the cap space that Parsons' departure will free up. As Micah Parsons prepares to embark on his next professional adventure, the Cowboys must navigate an off-season of transition. Replacing his production will require both shrewd personnel decisions and tactical adjustments. Yet, the legacy Parsons leaves behind, his work ethic, his sideline celebrations, and his bone-rattling hits will endure in Dallas lore. Wherever he lands, Micah Parsons' impact on the game is far from over. It's merely evolving into its next thrilling act. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Dallas Cowboys, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.